Hey, what's up, guys? It's your division leader, Dynamic 2839, here bringing another episode of Boss Gaming Network. Today, we're going to be covering another cool list of awesome topics and games. So, to give you an idea of what's going on, we are here in the month of February 2018. We have been running a promo campaign, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I went out to meet a lot of gamers, a lot of enthusiasts of anime and such and so forth. Two both play together, anime and games. It was really fun. I met a lot of new cool people, met a lot of new gamers, got a lot of new people on my friends list as well for PlayStation and Xbox. So it was a good time. It was a 4-day tour for just promotion for gaming and anime. So it was really fun. And if you want to check that out, head over to our YouTube channel and you can actually see what we actually did. But it was a good time. Met a lot of like-minded people like myself. It was really cool. Okay, so now today we're going to start out with a few games. Let's see here. All right, I took a few down. Let's give me a second here. All right, first game, Devil May Cry 4. Now I don't know if a lot of people remember this title. This title wasn't really pushed out there like a lot of other games. It was one of those games that came in that were really cool, and then it kind of like disappeared, and then it came back, and it disappeared again. But Devil May Cry 4 was awesome. It was about a guy named Nero. He went through trying to basically save the human society from these demonic forces that were trying to take over.
Through our strength, we'll make a better day tomorrow. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
So it was really cool. And now they have brought out a special edition. The special edition of the new Devil May Cry 4. It just released on the PS4 and Xbox One and PC. You actually have 5 playable characters now, which is really cool because they're bringing some of the female characters in now, like Trist. You know, she was really awesome. She was in a lot of the Marvel vs. Capcom games as well too. But you get to play with her. Virgil, you play with this guy as well too. And he has his own actual campaign, so you can actually follow through with Virgil's campaign. And it's just so awesome how they actually set it up. It's like, it's probably one of the best things you could probably see about Devil May Cry is the fact that you get to play with multiple characters and storylines. Now, it's the same Devil May Cry 4, but they added on so much extra things. So, you know, realize Devil May Cry 4 came out 7 years ago. Okay, so this special edition has been revamped by the creators, and multiplier. There is an actual multiplier battle now, so that basically you get rewarded. You will be rewarded for each combination that you do. Like if you play with the character the way the character was intended to be designed, then you get rewarded by getting extra damage, or you get like these shadows that kind of follow the character and its movement, so that you get even more damage off. And it's kind of like getting your special off, I guess, or an ultimate off. If you do the combinations correctly, you get rewarded by doing even better combinations, more damage, and getting more points.
Though a fight every now and then does make life a little more interesting. Don't you think?
actual damage you're doing to the enemy. So it's really cool. One thing I will say about Devil May Cry 4 is that I remember playing this back, 7 years ago when it first came out, and I remember it having a really gloomy type feel. But one thing about it, it was fun. Like even though you were in these dark places, and the storyline was so gloomy and so demonic at some points, it was like this guy was so energetic. He's like, "Yeah, let's go. I want to fight. Let's go." It was so awesome to see this and play with this guy. I believe Dante was the main character for Devil May Cry, and it was really cool. I mean, he's like Nephilim. He's like half angel, half demon, or something like that. So he has the ability to mimic demonic attacks, and also he has angelic attacks as well too. So it's a really cool idea, character of Devil May Cry. If you've never heard of it, definitely give it a shot. Special edition is definitely worth trying. Even if you've never played Devil May Cry before, definitely start by trying out Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. You get 6 playable characters. They have Triss, they have Nero, they have Dante, they have Virgil, and there's another female character in there as well. So it's really cool how they actually made the game. The game is really awesome. I would definitely recommend it for anyone who's never played it before. Definitely. Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. Okay, so let's get into the next game. The next game I have here that I wanted to get into. Oh yeah, okay. We're taking it to the sports, guys. I want to talk about Madden 2025, the Special Anniversary Edition. Yes, 25 years of Madden Anniversary Edition. I don't know if anyone plays sports or played Madden enough, but I remember Madden back in the Sega Genesis days. So it's probably one of the best football games out to date even now. Especially since EA Sports is running it. EA Sports has pretty much all the licensing for doing whatever they want to do with the game. I mean, other football games can't do what EA Sports is doing with Madden, or with NFL gaming itself. So let's get into it. Okay, Madden 2025 Anniversary Edition. And I had this game, by the way.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Yeah, with how hard he just got hit, he's lucky to be able to hold on to the ball. This team is extremely active on.
He's got a target for the touchdown.
Got no muscle, no hustle, no backbone. I stand alone, not tripping. Just saying, I'm different. Ain't hanging on the coattails of the next man. Passport in my left hand, thinking that you are next. Heck, go, you ain't holding your breath, man. 'Cause I'm hungry. I don't play around, trust me. Shadows in your dreams, I can make big punk smile. While I'm living, all I ever is the club. Tick, tick, tick. So don't got my business in. I'm running. Yeah, they don't want to check it out, we gon' make it out. So get it while I'm living. All I ever is the club. Tick, tick, tick. So you got my business in. I'm running. They don't want to check it out, we gon' make it out.
Now, what I will say about Madden 2025 is that the sponsorships in the game. And you notice how, like, when you're watching a real, like, let's say a football game on TV or national TV, let's say like Football Sunday, and you're watching, and the sponsors that kind of pop up on the sideboards in the stadium, like you'll see something like Snickers, or you'll see something like they'll show different titles, or they'll promote like McDonald's or something like that. One thing about Madden 2025 is that you will definitely see sponsors looking realistic, and it kind of brings a realism to the game, because when you're playing the game, you're like, all right, I'm playing 2025. Nothing's really changed. One thing about Madden 2025, they didn't change a lot. If you ever played the older Maddens, like from 2010, 2011, 2025 was pretty much the same game. They didn't change anything. But one thing that does stand out is the sponsorships, and whenever sponsorships pop up on the screen or on the sideboards of the actual stadium, it brings a certain realism to the game. It makes it more enticing. It makes you want to like stick in there and kind of see where the game is going, rather than anything else. So, next thing about Madden is that I don't like the fact that they haven't changed anything. Like I was mentioning before, since 2010, 2011, they have the same touchdown celebrations. Like you would think maybe they would add in, hey, this is the 25th edition of Madden. Let's go ahead and give these guys like, these super special touchdown celebrations. Like, oh, he got a touchdown. Whole team runs out there. They start giving it their high fives, doing backflips, forward flips. You don't see that. Nothing like that. These are the same touchdown celebrations from 2011. It's like, wow, these are old touchdown celebrations for the anniversary edition. You guys had 2 years to make the game. You couldn't create a new touchdown celebration.
Who else but Nicky Mods? But Nicky Mods.
The characters. I mean, come on. Like, throw a football out of the stadium or something. Like, that'd be, like, cool. Like, holy shit, he threw a football out of the stadium. Like, that's a touchdown celebration. Like, come on. I mean, okay, now, one thing I will say about Madden 2025 is that they have really bad commentary. I noticed that the commentary hasn't really changed that much either, but they pretty much didn't really revamp anything. It's like the same Madden that's been being put out for the last like 10 years, like, or at least since 2010. It's like they didn't really change anything. It's like, come on, it's like the same guys that give the commentary, Rick and the other guy, they just sit there and they say the same exact thing about the plays over and over again. Like, it gets really repetitive. And that's the only thing I don't like about it, is the fact that the commentary is really repetitive. So you'll see something happen, and then the commentary guy will say something, and then something else will happen differently, and the commentary guy will say the same thing again. And it's like, come on, bro, switch up the wording. Like, they didn't design the commentary with more dialogue. And I think with the less dialogue they have now, it's kind of like, it kind of pulled away from the game a bit. It kind of made it seem like it was more unrealistic for the football, so it's kind of like, Anyway, another thing about Madden 2025 was they did have a connected career, and the connected career was pretty cool because you can have up to 32 players playing with each other, and there was also an owner mode, I believe, and in the owner mode basically gave you an ability to own a stadium, own a team. You can even change the color of their jerseys. You could change the color of their actual helmets, everything. And you can actually move the team from one state to a whole other city if you wanted to. Like, you as long as you had the money. You had to basically choose the concession rates, the seat prices, you literally were the owner of the stadium. And and you would earn money from games and from people buying and purchasing, and you would be able to do whatever you wanted with the stadium. So it was called owner mode. When I thought that was pretty cool, they kind of brought that back into the Madden 2025. So that was awesome. So other than that, I mean, Madden 2025, it was cool. I mean, I if you liked any of the other Maddens, like I liked 2011. 2011 Madden was like one of my favorite ones, and 2025 reminded me a lot of it. But at the same time, it should not have had the same exact things from 2011. I think. I'm pretty sure a lot of Madden enthusiasts probably were upset with the 2025 anniversary edition because it did not include a lot of new things and new features. A lot of the features in the game were just basically the same things from older Madden games. So, I mean, what I will say is that when the game did drop, it wasn't full price. It wasn't $60. So I think EA Sports already knew. They're like, hey, we're giving these guys the same game from 2 years ago. All right, let's just make it $40. Okay. So I believe 2025 when the first release was like $40. It could have been less in some places, but I remember buying it for like $40. Like one of the coolest things about Madden 2025 is owner mode, where you get to own the stadium and the connected career. So 32 players at once. I mean, other than that, the same Madden you always played, but yeah, definitely good game. All right. So next game we're going into, this will be, oh yes. All right. So this is okay. So a lot of people know about Dragon Ball, right? Dragon Ball. Well, actually, if you look right here. This is a poster of Dragon Ball right here. It's part of the new series. But okay, so that's Goku. All right, so now they have a game that just released, and this is one of the best fighting games that has released, literally, in the last like 5 years. I mean, and this game is called Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
石になる重くて落ちちゃう前にワクワクの羽広げ次の世界へ行こう可能性のドアはロックされたままやれやれ今度も壁をぶち破る今だ限界突破叫べヘロヘロがあった無敵のオイラがそこで待っているドラゴンボールスーパー全王様もおったまげ
If you have not seen Dragon Ball Fighter Z, look it up on YouTube. This thing brings back memories for me. I mean, I felt like I was looking at another Marvel vs. Capcom game when I first saw it, but it's on a whole nother scale. It's like you get to actually play with Dragon Ball characters. So it's like, wow, it's like before it was like the X-Men. You got to play with like the Street Fighter crew and all of them. And that was cool, The Darksiders crew was in there too at some point. But it's like, now it's like just Dragon Ball characters, but it's like in a Marvel vs. Capcom setting. And this is so awesome for me. I'm like, wow. Anyway, the game definitely takes place Okay, so the storyline basically takes place like this. There's like these clones, okay, of each character in Dragon Ball Z. So your job is to basically find out where the clones are coming from. You have to fight these copies of the Dragon Ball Z characters and figure out what's going on in the world. They do introduce someone called Android 21, which is this like scientist female, and I think she has something to do with the clones. I don't know. I have not beaten the story yet, but from what I've seen, it looks like, yeah, it looks like she may be behind the clones being created for all the Dragon Ball Z characters, and you going through the world trying to defeat these clones. Okay, so the fun doesn't stop there. The fun picks up mostly in multiplayer and basically unlocking special items and characters within Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, one thing I noticed about Dragon Ball FighterZ is this. When you do your normal combinations, you know, like, you've played Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, you come in with your light punch, low punch, down, hard punch, knock them in the air, double jump. You know, you combinate them. You get your 6 hit off, right? And then you do your special, which is usually a half circle, 3 hard punch, right? That's how it works. Well, in this case, they added something in Dragon Ball FighterZ where it's called a 2-hit auto combo, and every character has it. Basically, you can just do like a 2 or 3 hit combo, and as long as you mash any of the light buttons, it will automatically continue the combo for you. It's called an auto combo. So you get to start the combo off, and then it finishes the rest of the combo off for you. Each character is game a lot easier. Depending on the difficulty setting and the settings you have set for the game, you can make the auto combo really a major part of the game, or you can take it down to where it's just you doing your own combinations. But the game is not easy. The combinations are very intricate. It reminds me a lot of Street Fighter, just like Marvel vs. Capcom. You have to know these characters and know how to play with them to get these combinations off correctly. A lot of people keep the auto combo on because the game is a lot easier and it runs a lot smoother and it's more enjoyable. So, yeah, there is an auto combo for each character in Dragon Ball FighterZ. All right, so Also, there is also a fan service cutscenes in the game. So, if you were a fan of Dragon Ball like me, then you've pretty much seen all the sagas, you know, all the folklore, you even read the manga, right? So, one thing that made this Dragon Ball game, and just to remind you, Dragon Ball has about 60 games that have released since it first started. So, I mean, yeah, there's about 60 different video games of Dragon Ball Z. Remind you, Dragon Ball Z is like 30 years old. This is not a new thing. Like 60 games have been released. So, this game here, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, did add something in it that was, I think, one of the most interesting. I've never really seen it in any other Dragon Ball game. They have fan service cutscenes. And these fan service cutscenes basically allow you to see interactions between different characters from the storyline. So let's say, for instance, you want to start a fight, you know, you get to choose 3 characters, because usually it's 3 versus 3. It could be less, it could be 2 versus 2 or 1v1, but normally it's 3 characters versus 3 characters. It's like Marvel versus Capcom, okay? So, if you choose, like, let's say, Goku, and your opponent is, like, Frieza, before the battle starts, there will be, like, a fan service cutscene. You'll see Goku, like, talking about, like, hey, Frieza, you know, like, don't destroy Namek or something like that. Remember, Namek is one of the, you know, planets, blah, blah, and Frieza will say something back regarding that. Like, yeah, I remember when we had that battle back when you first turned Super Saiyan. So it's like...
It's never crossed my mind that a day would come when the two of you would be following orders from me.
Don't delude yourself, Frieza. We didn't come here to be your subordinates.
No, of course not. I would never accept recruits that lack discipline and respect like you two simpletons.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to do any weird poses before a fight either.
Weird poses? What in the world are you talking about?
You know, like the Ginyu Force. We'd have to strike poses like those guys, right? Wouldn't we?
Don't look at me. I don't instruct my men to do that. That's the personal preference of Ginyu and his men.
Oh, right. I thought all your guys did that. I don't know where I got that idea. Actually, Vegeta, didn't you used to...
I never did that! I would never lower myself to performing something so pathetic.
Ahem! That's enough of this! You people are intolerable! Listen, the only reason I'm allowing you two to fight alongside me is to dispose of that woman. So please, the quicker we end her, the better it is for everyone.
Each character has some sort of a connection or cutscene that makes it's only for the fans, because I don't think anyone that understands Dragon Ball would really be like, oh, that was a cool cutscene. Oh yeah, I seen the Goku talk to Frieza. You know, it's not like that. Like, you'll see Yamcha have a conversation with Nappa. You know, you'll see Gohan have a conversation with Piccolo. You'll see Gotenks, you know, have a conversation with Super Buu, you know, before the battle starts. So they have fan service cutscenes depending on what character you have, and there's so many of them. It kind of makes you want to keep playing the game to see what cutscene that you haven't seen yet, to see the play out between the two characters before the battle starts. So it gives it a bit more of a twist. It's more fun to get into. I really like Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Yeah, okay. So, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, definitely worth getting. You get the Madden 2025 Anniversary Edition. Definitely worth it for the owner mode and the connected career. And then you got Dragon Ball Fighter Z, one of the best fighters out right now. Okay, so now we're going to get into the BoSS 5-game rating. Okay, so as I said before in previous episodes, I like to rate games. I like to give a rating for the game, a description of the game, and how I felt while playing the game. These games that I will talk about, I have owned or previously owned, and I did enjoy these games. Some of them I did not enjoy, and I will also be rating for those games as well. Okay, so we're going to start with the first game. And the first game on the list for the 5-game rating, the BoSS 5-game rating is Subnautica.
PDA has rebooted with one directive: to keep you alive. Scans indicate this location supports a diverse and healthy ecosystem. Exploration is conducted at your own risk. Utilizing alien resources is a proven survival strategy. Explore, study, catalog new species, secure food and energy, and gather data on unusual phenomena.
Shouldn't have gone so deep.
Okay. So, Subnautica was a very interesting game. It reminded me a lot of what Journey was like. If anyone remembers in episode 3, part 2, I talked a little about Subnautica. And it was similar to Journey on VR, but it's not VR. It's actually played with a controller. So Subnautica is played with the controller, you know, and it started out on PC, but eventually it ported over to Xbox One. So I have it on Xbox One and PC. The game itself is very inducive. You really get involved in it. I mean, first off, you're a space traveler. Once again, just... like Journey, right, on VR. And what happens is that you crash land on this water world. And the water world is just like Earth, but there's no land. So you have an escape pod. You land on the planet, and the escape pod can float, obviously. You get out of the escape pod, and you witness your ship explode. So it's like, wow, okay, how am I going to contact the other human colonies to come save me? What am I going to do? Only thing you can do, build new technology, right? So this guy is in the best possible place to build new technology, because everyone knows the best technology resources come from where? The ocean. You ever play games like Civilization? Where does your science come from? It comes from the ocean. Where does all the biochemistry of everything that's ever been scientist-wise discovered for genetically enhanced, ideas? Always from water. It always comes from water. So he's on a water world, an ocean world. He's in the best place to build new technology, and that's exactly what you do. You go on with this guy. I don't know if he has a name. I don't think he has a name. It's whatever you call him. And you go into the ocean. And at first, you're just like a guy who doesn't have no scuba gear. You can't breathe. You can hold your breath for like, I think, 30 seconds. So you go into water, and you kind of grab things here and there, climb back up to your escape pod, and you build stuff in your escape pod. Your escape pod does have a crafting machine that still works. So you can kind of like tell it what to craft off the material you find in the ocean. You put it in there, and you tell it to craft this, and you craft certain equipment. Eventually, you craft yourself a scuba gear. So you get the scuba gear. Then it's like, okay, well, I can't go that deep in the scuba gear. I need more life breath. So you learn how to find items to craft a deeper diving tank. So now you can dive deeper because you have a longer breath tank to breathe in. So now it's like, okay, well, now I need a submarine. So then you find equipment to where you can actually build your own submarine. And you build your own, and it just goes on and on and on. You build weapons, and you build all types of stuff, and the game gets really, really cool. It gets really awesome, especially when you get into the deeper parts of the game. There are these sea monsters that live in this game that you'll come across, and these sea monsters are so, like, one thing about Subnautica is that it will have you scared. Like, if you ever play like in the middle of the night and your lights are off, and you're playing Subnautica and you're like 10,000 feet below depth, in the ocean, and you're just like, and all you hear is these strange whale noises. Like, these whale noises are from usually what they call in the game Leviathan. The Leviathan are these huge sea monster creatures who look like, I don't know, they're like octopuses with like faces like Predator. I can't even explain them. They're huge. They're like 100 feet long, and they try and eat your ship or you or whatever they see. So like when you hear them coming, you get so nervous, and most of the time they're not even coming. It's just the fact that their echo just goes so long range that you can hear it from like miles and miles and miles away. So even in the beginning of the game, you can hear a Leviathan. Even though you'll have 0% chance of running into a Leviathan when you first start the game, you'll hear them. Even at night in the beginning of the game, you'll hear the echo of the Leviathan thousands and thousands and thousands of feet down deep in the ocean. So it's crazy when you actually get down there because you're like, I'm going to run into one. And when you run into one, oh yeah, you might as well just go and turn the game off. You're dead. I mean, it's pretty creepy. But that's not only the only monster. There's like, they added some DLC where there's actually even bigger sea monsters, and you have to actually gather certain items from them to complete a quest. So it gets really interesting. Subnautica was a great game. I remember when they first started developing it and it released on Steam. And Steam was trying to promote this. What they were trying to promote on Steam, these guys, and the guys who developed Subnautica, that was Unknown World Entertainment. And I remember when they just had the game basic. We were still waiting for a lot of download content to come in so we could continue the story. But they've gone so far now. I mean, with the new DLC, they brought it over to Xbox. Like, I'm just amazed. I'm like, wow, Unknown World Entertainment. They did such a good job with this game, Subnautica. If you like exploration games, if you like underwater games, anything like, you're building ships, you're on submarines and stuff like that, definitely play Subnautica. One of my favorite games ever. What else about Subnautica? They have the crafting. You can craft resources. There is also the sounds I mentioned. You can also build your ships. You can also build aquariums and gardens within the actual ship itself. And you can actually pick your own garden to get health, build medicine, whatever the case may be. So it's really cool. You can do that in your own ship. So you can actually spend a whole day in your ship in Subnautica and never even leave. I mean, you could just take care of your garden and your aquariums and never even progress the game. Just sit in your submarine underwater. Yeah, it's that cool. So, I mean, then you have, there is different modes. They have the survival mode, which is the normal mode, where you have to eat or your character will die from hunger, and you need water so your character does not dehydrate. So that is survival mode. And once you get far enough in the game and you start building your own gardens and you have your own ship and you have your own, that's kind of like having your own house. You can take care of yourself. But in creative mode, it's like you don't have to worry about that. You're pretty much immortal. I mean, if you can't die really. It's like if creative mode gives you an opportunity to make mistakes. Kind of like in Minecraft, you can make mistakes and you can keep going. So it basically creative mode prepares you for survival mode. Survival mode is the real mode. Usually games that have creative mode, they want you to play creative mode, but they won't give you all the details of the game. You won't see all the cutscenes. You won't get all the endings. What happened is that they just want you to experience it in creative mode. Then they want you to play the survival mode. Then that's when you get all of the details. You get all the cutscenes. You get all the endings. So this game has a survival and creative mode, just like No Man's Sky and Minecraft. So, okay. Yeah, we never talked about No Man's Sky. That game's too as well. Okay. All right. Next game. Oh, by the way, before I say anything else, I want to give Subnautica a 9. Subnautica is a 9. And only reason why I give Subnautica a 9 because I've seen it grow so much from when it first released. It's been out for years. And I've literally seen the developers of Unknown World Entertainment drop more and more content for this game. They listen to the fans. They give us so much more cool stuff, more and more and more all the time. I definitely have respect for Unknown World Entertainment. I hope Subnautica keeps building to the point where the space traveler does make it off of the planet and back into the solar system. So definitely, 9, Subnautica. Okay. All right, next game. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been talking about this. This game just released. It's pretty big, too. I love it. I just purchased it last week. And this game is called Monster Hunter World.
Wow. The new world.
Amazing, ain't it?
Monster Hunter World is phenomenal. It is fantastic. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the developer. I want to just get straight into the developer on this one. Okay, so the people who developed this game was none other than Capcom. Capcom developed Monster Hunter World. Now, I don't know if you remember in a previous episode of Boss Gaming Network, I mentioned Capcom before building an open world RPG. And that game was called Dragon's Dogma, right? Okay, so Dragon's Dogma was awesome. And the graphical detail was brilliant. It was beautiful. So here we go with Monster Hunter World. They did it again. Capcom. These are the guys that build fighting games. What are they doing? Building open world RPGs. That are so awesome. It's insane. How are they doing this? Okay, so Monster Hunter World and it's not the first one. There's other Monster Hunter worlds that exist as well, or Monster Hunter games that exist as well. But this one is open RPG. The graphics remind me a lot of Dragon's Dogma. It looks a lot like Dragon's Dogma, actually, on 360. But this one, on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, it's just insane. Like, I love this game. Whenever I was playing this game, one thing I noticed about it was that there were a lot of weapon classes in this game. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm hunting monsters. Okay, I got some quests here. Okay, I gotta kill this monster. I gotta kill that monster. What weapon am I going to use? Am I going to use a sword? Am I going to use a trident? Am I going to use a bow? You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I going to use? A bow and arrow? Like, well, what is it? What am I going to use? I go down the list in the store. There's 14 different weapon classes. I'm like, 14? Oh my God. You have 14 different weapon classes you can choose from in Monster Hunter World, which is insane. It's like, wow, and they can level up each weapon class? That's a crazy idea. So, anyway, besides that, there was a lot of other things I noticed about Monster Hunter World as well, and that was the fact that they had a food chain. So, so let's say you get a quest. It says, hey, you gotta hunt down the Raken. You gotta kill the Raken, which may be like a dragon or something like that, right? So you gotta hunt down this dragon, you gotta cut his tail off, and you gotta return the tail to us. And it's like, okay, cool. So you go out into the Hunter World, the Monster Hunter World, and it's a really flush, beautiful, like, I mean, greenery, sunlight, all that thick jungles, like, you know, like kind of like you're in like the Amazon or something like that. It's insane. And you're just like, okay, you're going through there, you're looking for this dragon. So where's the dragon, right? You have something called scalp flies. So these scalp flies you keep on your little belt and a little like lantern. And what they do is that they go and sense the path of the monster. So, and they also scan monsters that you never met before, and they give you detailed information about the monsters. So, like, the monster's weakness is fire. The scout flies will go out while you're fighting. They'll scan the monsters. They'll come back to you, give you information like, hey, they're weak against water because they're weak against fire, or whatever the case may be. So, scout flies is a really cool addition they added into this game. It makes hunting fun because you always discover something new, and you keep a data log on the monsters you've already come across. So it's really awesome how they did that in Monster Hunter World. Now, the thing is that when you do find the monster that you're looking for a quest, for instance, and you take whatever you need, you'll notice that there's other monsters in the area. And what I mean by a food chain, when I was talking about a food chain, these monsters will hunt each other. Like, if you just sit in the bush, like, and you don't even, like, come out, you just kind of watch the monsters like do their natural thing, you'll see certain monsters hunt other monsters, literally fight them and eat them right there. You'll be like, wow, okay, cool. And then you'll see another monster come and attack that monster. They have certain areas that they actually stay in. It's kind of like an actual like balance system, almost like Serengeti or something. I don't know. I mean, you can kind of like certain monsters stay in this area, certain monsters stay in that area. And these monsters hunt these monsters, they hunt these monsters. So it's pretty funny. It's kind of like, yeah, you just come in and you're just like the hunter. You're just coming in like, yeah, I'm poaching. And pretty much, we're poachers. In Monster Hunter World, right? So that's probably not a good thing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're going through there. You're poaching monsters as they're in their natural habitat, and you're bringing back certain items from the monsters, and you're selling them to the actual town or the store or the salesman. So, and then they use it for whatever, and then you upgrade, and you have newer things you have to do, and newer weapons you have to upgrade, and newer monsters you have to defeat. And yeah, Monster Hunter World is awesome. Another thing about Monster Hunter World is that I consider this to be one of the best parts about the game, is that it has over 100 hours of gameplay. So, you know, I'm a guy, I think like this. If you're paying $60 for a brand new video game and you only play it for 15 hours, I think that is a waste of money. That game should have been $15. It's just like it was 15 hours. Why are you charging me $60? It must be for the name. But you're telling me I buy a game that has so much beautiful graphics, character detail, story, plot, so many weapons to choose from, leveling system, ranking, $60, and you're giving me 100 hours of gameplay? It will take me months to finish that game. That is worth it. That's a game I say that is worth it. $60. I would even buy a special edition for the game. I wouldn't even care if the special edition was just like a tack that they just sent in with the game. Like, here you go. You just get a tack with the game. It's $100. I'll be like, okay, that's fine, cool, because I got 100 hours of gameplay and all these cool ass monsters I get to kill, and over 14 weapon classes I get to level up and choose from. Yeah, so Monster Hunter World is awesome. Definitely a game you want to get into if you like open world weapons and playing with friends. It's also a 4-player multiplayer, so you can actually hunt monsters with 3 of your other buddies. It's a 4-player game online, and you can do all your missions and quests and everything. The only problem is that your friends can't start your quest until they finish watching the beginning cutscene of the quest. So make sure your friends watch the cutscene first, then they can join you in your quest and help you out, and you guys can finish the quest together. So yeah, it's pretty awesome, pretty cool. Monster Hunter World. I want to give Monster Hunter World a 9. You know, and this is 2 games in a row. I've never done this. I've given Subnautica a 9. Now I'm giving Monster Hunter World a 9. And these games do deserve it. These are awesome open world games. The one is land, the one is based in the water, but I mean, this is the direction where gaming should be going. And I chose these games because I've been playing them lately, and I'm just like, wow, these games need to be talked about. These are great games. They both have 9s. Monster Hunter World, 9. Definitely. Boss rating. Okay. Next game. Okay. This game came out back in the 90s. I don't know if anyone remembers this game, but it was in pretty much all the pizza shops. If you ever went to like the arcade when you were younger or anything like that, when the arcade thing was still big, or maybe the movie theater for some people. A lot of arcade machines are still in the movie theaters, I've noticed nowadays. This game is called Hydro Thunder.
Boost is a go.
Hydro Thunder was awesome. A lot of people slept on Hydro Thunder. Anyone who ever been to an arcade know that Hydro Thunder was like the best game in the arcade. I mean, come on. I mean, right now they have a game out created by a different developing company from the ones that created it back in the past. I believe it was three different developing companies that made the old Hydro Thunders back in the 90s. But the new developing company is called Vector Unit. And they recently created Hydro Thunder back in 2010. and it's still going strong even today. And it's called Hydro Thunder Hurricane. And Hurricane is one of my favorite racing games ever. And like I said before, I love racing games. Racing games are probably one of my favorite games that I can probably get involved in, besides RPGs, fighters, strategy, and just, platforms. So I would definitely say racing games. And Hydro Thunder is one of my favorite. If you ever challenge me in Hydro Thunder, I guarantee you I would definitely whoop you. I am the best when it comes to Hydro Thunder. I don't know too many people that can actually beat me in Hydro Thunder, except for one guy, and he is a legend, and he has a YouTube channel himself, millions of views. His name is Chaos September. Chaos September. He might have changed his name now, but he is legendary when it comes to Hydro Thunder, and I know him personally. We actually played a lot of times, and he beat me. I could not beat this guy, but other than that, I'm the best. Hydro Thunder, I got it down pat. Dynamic 2839. Okay, yeah, I'll bring that Vector X out on you. You won't be able to handle that. But all right, so yeah, Hydro Thunder was fun. It's a boat racing game, super speed boat racing game. Basically, there's different maps where you can play in different parts, I guess, of the world. They're all like secret areas. Like you get to play like in maybe like Atlantis, somewhere like that. You're racing Atlantis, and which is really cool. And everything moves, and the walls move, and buildings rise out of water, and you have to avoid all this stuff. At the same time, racing your buddies or the opponents to try and get first place. There's usually 3 laps, for each race. There are some maps in China. There are some maps. There's a map in Bermuda Triangle. That's the last stage actually. And the Bermuda Triangle map is really intense. I mean, like you're going through like whirlpools. You're like falling out of the sky. You're like going through portals and dimensions and finding sunken ships and airplanes. It's insane. You even see the Amelia Earhart airplane crash like while you're playing the Bermuda Triangle like level on Hydro Thunder. You have to. It's pretty cool. A lot of different aspects. One thing I will say about Hydro Thunder is that they had these DLC boats, downloadable content. DLC, downloadable content. They had these DLC boats you can download, and they were so badass. They were even more souped up than the original boats you get in the game when you first purchase it. So it's like, wow. So you playing with these boats. I remember one boat in particular was called the Whiplash. The Whiplash was phenomenal. This boat was so powerful that when you hit the gas, if you didn't hold down the trigger on your controller, the boat would raise up as if it was doing a wheelie, and it would go backwards and fall on its head if you didn't hold it forward because the back engines are so powerful. The Whiplash was awesome. If you knew how to control the Whiplash, it had to be one of the fastest boats in the game.
3, 2, 1, go, go, go!
Boost is armed and ready. Boost getting low. Running low on boost. Boost is armed and ready. I love it. Boost is ready. Ah, sweet, sweet gold.
They did have a boat that I thought was a spam boat, which is called the Rat Hazard. The Rat Hazard was a spam boat. I don't care what no one says. This boat was a cheater, and it was basically designed for aerodynamics. So whenever this boat went into the air, it could turn a certain way and the wind would carry it, and it would gain speed. So basically this boat would fly over everyone. It flies over people, and then it gets in first place. It's an OP boat. I don't really consider that to be, the best boat in the game. It's just it's a cheater boat. I mean, okay, and that's what everyone uses when they want to win a game in Hydro Thunder. But Whiplash, one of the fastest. Thresher X, it's a lot of boats. Vector X is my favorite. Man, I can go down the list. There's a lot of good boats. The Razorback wasn't even a DLC boat. One of the fastest if you knew how to use it, or drift at least behind other boats. So, yeah, Hydro Thunder. Okay, so one thing I will say about Hydro Thunder, there were shortcuts. Each map had a shortcut, so as long as you knew the level, you can actually come out in front of other players if you knew how to cut through a mountain or cut through a stream. And there's also this mode they call Ring Mode, and Ring Mode teaches you how to actually play the levels in Hydro Thunder. So let's say, for instance, you just started the game and you're not good at it, because there's a lot of shortcuts and there's a lot of paths you have to take very quickly. You have to be able to turn, and you have to be able to maneuver and be able to know when to avoid. Basically, Ring Mode teaches you to basically drive your boat through these rings, and the rings are placed on each level to show you how to play that level. So Ring Mode is good. Ring Mode is good for beginners. Once you get the game, play Ring Mode first, and learn the level, then play online or play single race and unlock boats or whatever the case may be. Hydro Thunder was one of my favorite games. Still one of my favorite racing games to date. Love that game. I want to give Hydro Thunder an 8. And 8's pretty good. 8's not bad. Seeing that the game came out in the 90s and that it's still holding weight even today, it's like, wow, an 8? Most games that came out in the 90s, they're like holding maybe a 5 right now, maybe even a 6. But even saying 8 is just like great. I mean, it's still competitive. The graphics are still astonishing. The levels are very fluent and fluid. Love the game. The boats are very well designed, and they're built in a very super fantastic type of design way. So definitely try out Hydro Thunder. I don't think you will regret it. I give it an 8. Okay. All right. So next game. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. Okay. God of War 3.
How do you know of me?
Everyone knows who you are.
The ghost of Sparta, the god of war.
Murderer of Gaia,
The destroyer of Atlantis.
The god slays.
Brother. Father.
my son.
PlayStation.
God of War 3 had to be one of the best games to release on console. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of God of War 3. This is the same game that talks about the Greek gods. And gods like Zeus, Hercules, Hera, Ares, Hades, and the list goes on and on. But this game actually focuses on a human who is attaining the power of the gods, and his name is Kratos. Now, Kratos was a Spartan soldier. He actually was a general of the Spartan soldiers, and he eventually was killed in battle. He was captured, his spirit or whatever, his body was captured by Zeus, and they turned him into basically a servant of the gods. He then eventually decided to turn against the gods, and that's where the game basically took place from. It's the god of war is basically Kratos, the human general Spartan soldier who was a servant of the gods, who turned against the gods, and now he's basically killing them and taking their powers for himself and their weapons. So God of War 3 takes place right after the ending of God of War 2, where the older gods were trying to take down the current Olympians, which are the Olympians are like Zeus, Hercules, Hera, all the current gods that were there. Chrono was an older god, like, Gaia. These are like the older gods. That they were coming, the parents were coming to defeat the children gods to take back. And Kratos was with the parent gods. He's with the older gods. The game takes place. It's confusing. Okay, so just play the game. But anyway, I do have a full playthrough, by the way, on Twitch. Our Twitch channel is called Dynamic2839. The entire game is streamed from beginning to end. If you want to check out God of War 3 full playthrough, it's a really good game. But definitely go over and check it out, see if you like it. But basically, each god you kill, or Kratos kills, he takes their weapons, and it makes him stronger. So, and in some cases, you need these weapons to progress the game. So, you can't, avoid a god. I don't want to fight that god. I'm going to go fight a different god. You have to fight certain gods in certain order. The game is pretty much linear. It's kind of linear, but it's a fun linear game, and they made it to where it's not that noticeable. You're not playing the game like, oh my god, I know exactly where I'm going. It's not like that. You're playing the game, you're like, man, so this happened, that happened. You're thinking about what just transpired. You're not really thinking about where you're going next. You're just kind of playing and seeing what's happening. So it's a really cool game. God of War 3 was one of the best games, I think, for a platformer, side scroller, third person, I should say, game that released on console. So one thing I will say about God of War 3, there was a massive boss battles. So, the way God of War 3 operated was like this. Okay, you're like this little human dude. You're Kratos. You're a normal, 6-foot guy, battle-hardened soldier, and then it's like this god who's 300 feet tall standing in front of you. And I'm not even exaggerating that. I'm like, it could be even more. 300 feet tall god, hey. So the game is very similar to Shadow of the Colossus. And I would definitely do that in another episode. Shadow of the Colossus was an awesome game. Sony loves making games like this for some reason. I don't know, God of War and Shadow of the Colossus, where the little guy fights the huge big guy. But anyway, David and Goliath or something. But anyway, it's really cool. So basically, you have to climb these bosses or these gods, and you have to find their weak points, and you have to either bash it, stab it, or do something to make them weaken. Then you get your hits in and you take down damage. So this is how you fight all the big, huge bosses,
The murderer of Gaia enters my tomb. Kronos! I know it was you who killed her, Spartan. Who else could? I live in torment because of you. After you took the box from Pandora's temple, Zeus was consumed with fear. He banished me to the pits of Tartarus.
I was tasked by the gods to kill Ares.
You killed Ares out of your need for vengeance. But this time, retribution finally comes to me, Spartan. Kratos, your death will not be a suffer when my sight returns! Show yourself, Kratos! There you
The only boss that wasn't that big was Zeus, but I'm not going to give too many spoilers away. You'll see that whenever you play the game, or you can, like I said, you can watch my stream on Twitch. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. You get weapons from each god you defeat, and I like how you get to fight the huge big gods, and you get to climb on them in different parts, and and just weaken them and get special items at the end. So the game has a rewarding feature. Like, you don't feel like you're playing like, oh man, this is so linear. You're feeling like, man, I just beat that big, huge boss dude. Like, oh, that's awesome. I got a reward for it. You feel like you accomplished something. It's a really good game. God of War 3 was awesome. Okay, so then one of the other things about God of War 3 I noticed was the frame rate. The frame rate in God of War 3 was phenomenal. And the reason why I say it was that great is because it did not slow down. It didn't feel like you were playing a game that was controlled by lag. The game felt like it was fluid, smooth. It was basically the kind of game you want to play where you don't want to have to slow down. So it was like I could execute an attack, do another attack, a monster could grab me in mid-attack, throw me on the ground, do its attack, I can get back up, do a special attack, and nothing slows down. Nothing renders or anything like that. Everything was perfectly ran through smoothly. The engine they used in the game was beautiful, and even in the remastered version of God of War 3, mind you, the game is pretty old. It came out, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. The remastered version just came out on PS4, I think 2 years ago, and they didn't upgrade anything. They didn't revamp anything. The only thing they did was make the colors a little brighter. They added like some videos to the game and some cutscenes and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But the game still was the same game. I mean, the game was already good even when it released 7, 8 years ago. It's still good on the remastered version. So the frame rate was awesome. The frame rate was one of the best things about God of War. It felt smooth. It felt very fluid. It moved the way it should move whenever playing a really quick-paced game. So I give them that credit right there. So I want to give God of War 3 a 9. And the reason why I give God of War 3 a 9 is because they gave us a good follow-up from Part 2. You got all the action you needed. It filled in all the answers you needed to know about everyone. The ending was pretty good. It was a really good ending. The final battle scene was awesome. You got to do a lot of things in that game. It was really cool. It was a good ending to Kratos' younger years before God of War 4 comes out. Because the new God of War that just released recently, he is now fighting the Norse gods, and he has a full beard now, and he has a son. So it's not like the God of War I'm talking about where he just had the goatee. So this was a good ending to the goatee Kratos, and I give it a 9. It was a good game. God of War 3. Yes. Okay, next game. Oh, wow. All right, so we're going with an Xbox 360 game. No, I believe this became backwards compatible. This actually came over to Xbox One as well. Okay, so this game is called State of Decay. State of Decay. It was a good game. It was basically it was a zombie game. It was a zombie apocalypse game. Sort of like Resident Evil, or a few other games that are out there like that. But the thing about State of Decay is that it was open world. That's what made it so awesome. The game was open world. There were cutscenes in the game, but for the most part, the game was very lively. Like, the game didn't repeat itself. Like, every time you played the game, it wasn't exactly the same. Like, you could literally, the game would randomly generate situations for you, so you had to deal with those situations as they generated. So, for instance, let's say, you're walking down the street, right, in one part of the game, and like 2 zombies jump out, and you got to fight these 2 zombies. And mind you, these zombies aren't slow. These zombies can run. They're like the Walking Dead zombies. Like, they're probably faster than those guys. They run up on you. They fight you. You're like fighting zombies. You kill those 2 zombies. You keep it moving. Okay. Now, let's say you walk down that same street in a different time you play, same point of the game, and instead of 2, 10 zombies might jump out, So the game randomly generated different scenarios for you. So the game was never the same. The game always was ever changing, and the game was awesome because of that. It brought a very good scare tactic to the game itself, State of Decay, and had a lot of replayability because of that. Because every time you played the game, you didn't know what was going to happen. You would meet people who weren't infected, like normal humans in the game, which I thought was pretty cool, right? So, and you would ask them, hey, do you want to come over to our house or our bunker? We already have food stored there. We have extra beds. We're looking for normal people so we can have a bigger team to help fend off against the zombies. And people would either say no, or they will say, yeah, you got to help me out first. Help me kill these zombies over here. So you do that quest. Or they'll say, yeah, I'll come over. And they'll bring all their items and their equipment that they already have with them, and they'll take it over to your house or bunker, and then it adds to your stock. So now your stock increases. So it was really cool. The game was about relationships as well, too. So you had to, occasionally talk to people at your homestead. Like, you would go back, after going out, like, searching for, supplies in the zombie-infested towns or whatever. You come back home, you'll find out that someone's sad. A team member is sad. So you have to go over to the team member. You talk to them. You're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, I lost my cell phone during the zombie apocalypse, and all my phone numbers were in there. So like, okay, so what do we need to do? So there's like a short mission to help that person get happy again. You have to go out into like the zombie infested land and find a new cell phone for this guy, right? Who would have thought? Yeah, go find a new cell phone. Why not? Zombie apocalypse world. You go out there, you finish that mission, you come back home, and it's like, yeah, man, thanks, I got the new cell phone, and you shake hands, and it's like, boom, you just upped his happy level, so now he fights better, he gathers more supplies faster now, and he just becomes a better asset to the team. And every last character that you meet in the game is like that. There's a relationship meter for each character, which I've never really seen in any zombie apocalypse game. I thought that was really awesome. It was really cool. Like the fact that you have to keep a good relationship with your teammates. And the teammates can get as big as, 10 to 12 people in one homestead. You can have multiple homesteads. You can build bunkers throughout the cities that you visit. I think there's like 3 major cities in the game. So you can build like 3 houses in each city and have 10 to 12 people in each place. Just kind of like, protecting, defending, and just a supply hold for you. So until you finish, the storyline of the game. So the game was really cool. There was I wouldn't really say there were boss battles, but there were super strong zombies. Because the game was like open world, so it wasn't like an RPG where like you get to the next scene, you get to the next cutscene, you get to the next part of the game. It was like the game was open world, so as long as you did all the missions and quests, you were done. But some areas did have really strong super zombies, so I guess I would consider them bosses, but it was no special cutscene to intro them. It was like either you saw them and you fought them, or you didn't see them. It was just as simple as that. But the game was awesome. They brought out a DLC where you can actually play with the military, and the military was against the team you first played with. So the normal people that you were playing with in the beginning, and trying to survive against the zombies, the military were trying to kill them too because they thought they were zombies as well. So you play from the military perspective, and they have their own story. It's a DLC you download, and it's survival DLC. It's pretty cool. I mean, you get to go ahead and fight the zombies and then camouflage and all that stuff, and bring out the tanks and bring out the high-powered assault rifles and everything. And that was cool seeing that, you know, in State of Decay. You know, so it was like, the game was awesome, you know, and the main thing about it is that the graphics weren't too great. The game was very janky, you know. It wasn't lag, it was just more like the game would kind of like shake a lot. Like, you know, but the game was good. It was so big and huge that you really didn't care about that little problem it had, you know. Definitely a good game. One of the best things about it was the replayability of that game. And you can level up your fighting abilities. Each character you play with, you can level up their fighting abilities, their weapon ability, everything. It was cool. I want to give State of Decay an 8.5. State of Decay was developed by Undead Labs. And Undead Labs did a phenomenal job with State of Decay. Definitely worth purchasing. Major replayability, something to play with friends, family, if they're into scary movies and stuff like that. Very fun game. Just wish they brought out a multiplayer. If they brought out a multiplayer, the game would be like literally 100 times even better than what it already is. But even now, it's a good game. So yeah, State of Decay. Definitely want to give that an 8.5. Okay. All right, guys. So that will complete the 5 boss game rating. And like I said, these are games that I enjoyed, games that I currently own and have played all the way through to the end. So definitely, whenever you hear a 5 boss game rating, go out, try these games based off my review. Okay, so that's going to conclude this episode of Boss Gaming Network. There is one other game I do want to touch on before we go, and that is... Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn. Looks like I'm taking it to the PC once again. This game is a MMORPG, which is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. MMORPG. This is the PC version of the Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Really climatic game. I loved it. It still is great. They just brought out a new DLC not too long ago. I believe this game released in the year of 2013. So this game released in 2013, and it's still releasing content as of recent. So this is probably one of the biggest growing MMORPGs at this pace that is moving so quickly. Now, I do have it on PC, and I also have it on PS4. So, and don't ask me why I have 2 copies of Final Fantasy XIV. Sometimes I don't even know why I have the games I have. I get deals on certain games, and I rebuy games, and I trade games in, and it's just one big cycle of gaming tradership. So, I mean, I have 2 copies of Final Fantasy XIV. Okay. PS4, PC. What I will say is they both play very similar. Both of these titles play pretty similar. PS4 does a really good job rendering the game just as well as the PC does. Now, the PC obviously has more options to where you can tweak and change a few options to make it look better or the shadowing look a little more sharper or smoother. But for the most part, PS4 does a good job of rendering the game itself as well. Now, what I will say is that I'm a console player, so I prefer the PS4 version. But let's say my subscription runs out, because there is a subscription with this. And whenever you get these MMORPGs that are really good, like these 2 here, there's always an issue with the fact that they have subscription memberships. And the subscription memberships are usually $15, like World of Warcraft. Now, what I will say about this, Final Fantasy XIV, they did give us a subscription membership of $7.99, I believe. I think it's $8. So it's only $8 for got some DLC here. I didn't even see that. This is the PS4 copy right there. Yeah, the basically, Final Fantasy XIV is a really good MMORPG. It's already won over 30 plus awards for the best MMORPG to release since 2013. The DLC just makes it better. They keep dropping more and more and more DLC. I mean, these guys are pretty much outdoing World of Warcraft like back when it first released. Well, it's pretty insane. So definitely way cheaper. I mean, you're only paying $7.99 a month rather than $15 a month. I understand that the fact that you're playing monthly charges is like, why? You know, but when you see all the content that you get in this game, it's worth it. I think that $7.99 is a good price for the content that you will get in this game. Now, mind you, like if you want a good MMORPG on PC that you don't want to pay monthly fees for, like I was saying before, then you would get Guild Wars 2, and I mentioned that in the last episode of Boss Gaming Network, or actually episode 3, part 2. At the end of that one, I mentioned Guild Wars 2. So Guild Wars 2 is actually a really good game. It is one of the best RPGs out there as well, and there is no monthly fee for the game. It's really good. This one does, Final Fantasy XIV does include a $7.99 charge for monthly play, plus the initial cost of whatever the game is. I believe this game is, it's not really expensive. PC games are usually pretty cheap. I think it was going for either $30 or $40. I mean, you could probably get it even less now since it released like 5 years ago. So, but this game definitely worth playing. One thing I will notice about the Final Fantasy XIV is that it does have a huge open world. The colors and the character design is like any other Final Fantasy you would expect to have. Great character design, great color, great brilliantly designed enemies. Playthrough frame rate is not too bad. It's actually pretty good as well. Now, another thing you will notice that's different in this Final Fantasy compared to the other Final Fantasies that release is that they have something called Fate Battles. And Guild Wars 2 has something similar as well too. But in Final Fantasy XIV, it's called a Fate Battle. And whenever you see a fate, there's fates located all over the map. Like when you're in like a certain area, you'll see like certain areas of the map glowing. And it'll glow like yellow or something like that, and you'll know it's a fate. It's a fate battle. And once you enter the fate, you have a certain amount of time to enter the fate. Once you enter the fate, you have a certain amount of time to finish the fate. And the fate is usually like it's a time battle. So I mean, you go in there, and it could be like a certain amount of enemies, just like going crazy, and you got to go in there and fight them. And other players can join in on the fate battle. So the fate battle is open to whoever is on that server or in that realm or in that area with you. So usually when I play Final Fantasy XIV, it's like you got a group of people running from fate to fate to fate, and everyone's just running from fate to fate to fate. They're not even doing story. Everyone's just getting special items and just ranking up and just going from fate battle to fate battle to fate battle. And like I said, they're timed, so they only last for a little bit of time and they disappear. But then new ones reappear, and if you get inside that area soon enough, then you're involved in that fate battle, and everyone battles in that fate battle. It's so cool. Yeah, some people do that all day long in Final Fantasy XIV. If you're just trying to rank up and get their stats up or get special items to sell or equip or whatever the case may be. So yeah, fate battles are cool. The next thing is classes. One thing about Final Fantasy XIV is they have classes. Now, if you want to become like, let's say, a bard, you want to like make music and you want to like sing at the pub or whatever the case may be, you need to master other classes first. So if you want to get to new classes, you have to master your current class before you can go to the next class. I believe you have to master your class at level 30. Once you get to level 30, you can choose a different class and start working on the next class to master, and you get new abilities. And each class can help you in certain battles. If you want to be a sword master, if you want to be like a staff fighter, if you want to be like, a nunchuck or a bard, you want to switch it up, there's a lot of different classes within Final Fantasy XIV that you can master. And it gives you a lot of time, and, it's like you're not wasting your $7.99 a month. You're always working towards something to build your character up. So it's really cool with the classes. Another thing is that you have... if you're a new player to MMOs, and let's say Final Fantasy XIV is like your first MMO or your first MMORPG you've ever played in your entire life, I will say that Final Fantasy XIV is very new player friendly. So it's so many different tutorials to help you if you're brand new to the game. If you never played an MMORPG, it will tell you how to handle the MMORPG, how to play the MMORPG, where your weapons should go, how you should be able to fight. It will tell you every single detail you need to know to play the MMORPG. One thing they have is a very good facial expressions in Final Fantasy XIV. So whenever there is like a little cutscene or you see like the characters talking about something serious, they make facial expressions, which I think is pretty cool because, you know, that the game could have just been like Final Fantasy XI. I mean, Final Fantasy XI was an MMORPG as well. Actually, one of the best MMORPGs out there before 14 released, of course. 14 I think is better than 11, but 11's been out there for a very long time. 11 was out there from Xbox 360, I remember. It was even on Xbox 360. It was compatible. Then they brought it over it was already on PC, so yeah, they brought it over to Xbox 360. But now they have Final Fantasy 14, and this is on PS4, PC, and this is just awesome. This game is insane. I love Final Fantasy 14. And Square Enix were the developers, and like Square Enix is developers for all the Final Fantasy games. They did a very good job on 14, and man, their developing teams must be like some of the best in the world for them to just keep up and keep dropping these masterful titles over and over and over and over again. I mean, like I said, the $7.99 I think is worth it. Right now, I probably wouldn't get into it too much. I probably prefer Guild Wars 2. Like I was saying before, Guild Wars 2 is a good game, but Final Fantasy 14 is not too far behind. You can design your character. You can design the religion they follow. They have multiple religions in the game. Style fighting. There's massive battles of kind of like Guild Wars 2, where you get the world versus world. You know, they have a lot of different aspects in the game. It's not like world versus world, but they have certain battles where, you know, you can get at least like 30-something players in one battle fighting one huge monster. Whatever that is, I think that's pretty. yeah, so Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, definitely a good MMORPG. If you've never played MMORPGs, definitely, if you're brand new to the MMORPG realm, start out with this game. It's one of the games you could learn how to play very quickly. So, yeah, this will teach you pretty much. If you learn this, then you learn all the other MMORPGs. So, Final Fantasy 14, great game. Okay, guys. Thanks for joining me here, Division Leader, Dynamic 2839, with Boss Gaming Network. You can also reach us at our Twitch, Dynamic 2839, my gamer tag, Dynamic 2839 as well, and that's across all consoles, Nintendo, PSN, Xbox, and Steam. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to text the phone number at the end of the show here. You'll see it. And as always, boss up.